Ladies and gentlemen, presented by the WZWA Network, it's the Insider's Edge Podcast with your host, Karlifornia.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Insider's Edge Podcast here on the WZWA Network. I'm your host with the most on the West Coast, Karlifornia Fury. It's a joy to be with you all once again. And speaking of a joy, right here, right now, I get to have a guest on my show that I would say has probably been the most requested guest since I've been doing the podcast. I'm serious, because since I've been doing a lot of interviews with some of these guys from the deathmatch scene in the United States, one name keeps on coming up over and over and over again. I've hounded him for years, and finally I got to make it happen. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the one, this is the only. This is Mr. Ian Rotten. How are you, sir?
Hey, man. How are you?
I'm doing great, my friend. Thank you.
I'm ready for my podcast all the way in Australia. If you can see, I got my Rhea Ripley shirt on.
Very cool, bro. Obviously, I'm a big fan of hers. She's definitely done so much for our country over there. So, but thank you for representing and thank you for being here on the show with me, bro. First question, as usual.
I want to tell you something funny before I get into that.
Go for it.
So, Shotzi Blackheart is somebody I help train, things like that. And when she got her job in NXT and stuff, I was like, do me a favor, please tell me Rhea Ripley isn't an asshole. And she's like, no, she's wonderful. She's wonderful. I was like, all right, because I'm on that bandwagon. So I knew she had, this star potential power from the very beginning. So I'm real happy for her.
Yeah, me too. I'm really stoked at the success that she's seen, because as far as Australian representation in the big company is concerned, before kind of this new era where there's been a few Australians there, all we had really to hang our hat on was Nathan Jones and Outback Jack, and it's going back a while.
Tony Garea was billed as from Auckland, New Zealand, so it's kind of close, but
It is close, yeah. So the Bushwhackers, I guess they're New Zealand as well, but everyone kind of gets us mixed up. But there's a vast difference, I assure you.
I trust me, I know. That's why I said it's kind of close, but not all the way there.
Cool, bro. So again, the first question I always have on the show for everyone is, how did you become a wrestling fan before you actually got into the business?
My dad was a huge wrestling fan. One of those guys that would fight you over the F word, and I don't mean fuck, I mean fake. Like my dad was a diehard wrestling fan. So when I was 4 years old, though my mom was quite upset at him, he took me to my first wrestling show. And from there on, it was love at first sight.
Oh, that's great to hear. So I'm sure you spent many hours, many evenings watching wrestling with your dad. So that's always cherished memories. But there's got to be a point in time. Sorry,
I tell people all the time. My dad worked two jobs. But he always made time to take me to roller derby and to take me to wrestling. So, it really did break his heart when I had to tell him both of them were a work. And the only reason I chose to do that is because he came to see me wrestle in Martinsburg, West Virginia at the Martinsburg National Guard Armory, and wound up chasing one of my opponents all around the building with a steel chair. Because he was upset that I got dumped upside down in a trash can. So, I literally had to sit down and be like, okay, Dad, I got to tell you something. And then he argued with me. He was like, no, maybe you guys do that way, but that ain't the way of the days of Bruno and, Ray Stevens, And I was like, okay, Dad, just one day we decided, it was going to be a work.
That's great stuff. As a fan, though, of pro wrestling, before getting into the business, there's a moment in time where you obviously have to be influenced by the hardcore style of pro wrestling, which is something that you've been quite renowned for, obviously. I love finding out about this with certain guys. And I remember Thumbtack Jack telling me about, like, he saw pictures in magazines and he could never find the footage because it was just from Japan and impossible to get his hands on. How did you first, come into to find out more about this style of wrestling?
Florida Championship Wrestling. My dad and my mom divorced when I was 7. My dad moved to Florida, and I would go visit him in the summer. And every Tuesday night we were at the Fort Hesley Armory in Tampa for Tuesday night wrestling. Once a month we would go to the Bayfront Center in St. Petersburg for the big show. And at that Bayfront Center, I saw the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and Terry Funk take on King Curtis Iatea and the Great Kabuki in a barbed wire match. And on that same card, there was just a time where they had to come out and mop the ring up because Bruiser Brody was on the card, and he hard weighed. I don't even remember who it was, but I mean, there was so much blood everywhere. I just thought it was like the coolest thing. And from there, I was hooked. It was Dusty's booking, Eddie Graham's booking. I saw the first Pinfalls Count Anywhere matches that were really being done. I saw B. Brian Blair versus Bruiser Brody go into the women's bathroom at the Port Hesley Armory in a Pinfalls Count Anywhere match. So I was into that stuff. Joe LeDuc was in that territory. And it was I would say as well as USWA, or at the time it was CWA, Lawler and Jerry Jarrett's group, that I would see footage of their shows and the white canvas would be covered in blood. And when it was funny, because when IWA had a white canvas, that's the first thing I wanted to do was get it real bloody. So, and the person that gave me the canvas was like, "What the hell, Ian? We just gave you that brand new canvas." And I was like, "Yeah, it's white."
You wanted to decorate it. Oh, that's
right.
Cool. Thank you for sharing. And speaking of IWA, and ladies and gentlemen, with this interview, I'm jumping all over the place here. We're not going in some sort of timeline. I know there's a time and place where you debut, you're working in the business, but I wanted to ask you about starting a promotion from scratch. What does that look like in the 90s? And how difficult was that process to get IWA Mid-South underway?
Well, I ran a couple of shows and they didn't go so well either because in this area 16 inches of snow is a major snowstorm. And so I being from Maryland, I thought, well, it's not too bad out there now, we'll still have the show. And nobody came. So I had heard that there was a building that Danny Davis ran, OVW, and they weren't happy with what he was drawing because his rent was beer sales, and they really weren't a adult company either. They were family friendly wrestling, and so I went over there and I talked to the owner, and I was like, "Look, I'm 26 years old. I'm not an old man like Danny Davis, like I am now. But I was like, I got drive, I got determination. I've got some great ideas. I think I can sell you a lot of beer." Well, that's all it was. They told Danny he had to get out. And so when I started running, I thought of the I don't want to say where it was a takeover of talent, but I thought with having cheaper bills to pay than the Louisville Gardens and things like that, I could steal some talent from USWA and get the USWA fans to go, okay, well, I like Doug Gilbert and Tommy Wildfire Rich, so I'm going to go try this other place out, and I had just under $10,000 to start out with from a tour of Japan, and so I thought, well, I'm gonna, bring some of my friends in. Of course, I brought in the late great Ted Petty, Flyboy Rocco Rock, 911 from ECW, and shortly after that, the first show we had 99 people at, and then by taking guys like Doug Gilbert and Tommy Rich and Dutch Mantell and Jamie and Wolfie PG-13, by Thanksgiving I was up over 300, and the crowds were there every Thursday night. Then Lawler said something that pissed me off, and I moved my show from Thursday night to Tuesday night because I wanted to compete with them head to head. And eventually, USWA went out of business because they were running a 5,500 seat building in the Louisville Gardens and drawing maybe 150. So by that time, they also weren't doing the rough style of wrestling that they had been doing for years. So then when you came to my show and you saw, guys falling in glass, and you saw baseball bats wrapped in ball wire, and then, of course, one night me and Pondo were looking for weapons in the building to use. We found some light tubes, and decided to use it. So when you go from there, when Lawler got the athletic commission involved, it was easy breezy until the athletic commission got involved. But once the athletic commission got involved, it was a pain in my ass. Those 300, almost 400 crowds went to 115, 120. So then it became difficult, but really being able to sell beer, having my own concessions, which I've always prided myself on the IWA hot dog. I just, didn't really have a hard time of it, really, until the commission got involved and all that stuff. And okay, I basically was upfront and brutally honest with them, and told them, you have no place in the wrestling business. It's all a work. I have no idea what you're here for besides your 5% of the gate.
Yeah.
And you're $10 a wrestler on a bullshit licensing fee that you do absolutely nothing for. I said, at least in the state of Maryland, where I come from, they have a doctor come to the show and make sure you have decent blood pressure and you're capable of wrestling. So they didn't like that. so they came after me more. And then one night we lit a table on fire, and they weren't there, and they came in the next show after that, complaining to me about the table being on fire. Of course, because Lawler had his stooges in the crowd, and so I basically made the head athletic commissioner look like an idiot because I told him it was a magic trick and that there was no chance of anybody being burnt or anything like that. I was like, it's literally water that comes spraying out of the lighter fluid bottle. And this dumbass believed me and went back to the commission and said, "Yeah, it's water. It's a magic trick." And they're like, "You can't light water on fire." So Cornette likes to tell this story of I went in there and had gig marks all over my head and stuff and things like that. I did go in there, but you couldn't see no gig marks on my head because I had a bandana on my head, and I basically told the commission to go fuck themselves, and I said everything you do is in selective enforcement. Yeah. You want my license so bad? Here's my license, and I threw it at Jack Kearns, who was the head athletic commissioner, and I said to him, because the thing that really pissed me off is this was a really sneaky thing actually, and I know I'm kind of getting long winded about this, but
right.
It really is a big story part of IWA. I was in Germany I was going to Germany, and they came in and raided a show and said we didn't pay our taxes. But the thing was, Jack Kearns, this is where he got back over on me, told me that they didn't want a check once a week anymore, that they wanted me to combine all the taxes and put it into one check for the month. So when we didn't pay for a couple of weeks, that gave him the opportunity to say I didn't pay my taxes. And then when I said, well, dude, you said you only wanted one check. He said, I never said that. But yeah, the long and short of it, probably more than long, is it was fairly easy until the athletic commission started messing with.
Right. Okay. Well, a little bit of insight there, everyone, about the shit that some people have to deal with just to get a wrestling company going.
Right.
And okay, so we're talking about the early days here of IWA Mid-South. Deathmatch wrestling in general was seen as super taboo and an eyesore on pro wrestling. These days, though, it's celebrated. From being there from the start with this kind of US deathmatch scene, how does the change in opinion and perception over the years make you feel?
Well, first of all, me and Axel were the ones that had to put up with guys like Bruce Mitchell and Dave Meltzer and all that stuff, calling what we were doing in ECW not wrestling. Which I highly disagreed with very much back then, because there was a booker of the show. The booker told us what to do. We went out there and did it to the very best we could. Bled all over the place. Killed our bodies, and that's pro wrestling. When you look at it from the standpoint of where it's at now, that's why sometimes I get quite upset with people that don't give me my flowers, so to say, because I'm the one that had to put up with all that shit too. I had to put up with the Meltzers and Mitchells and stuff. The only two journalists that I ever felt were fair with Deathmatch Wrestling was a guy named Jess McGrath, who wrote for PWI Insider, and Mike Johnson, who also to this day still writes for PWI Insider. The taboo on it. I mean, Lawler went to the athletic commission. This is a cancer to wrestling, and but it was okay for him to get his nut broken in a match. I mean, he's I don't know whether you know this or not, but he suffered a ruptured testicle in a match from being posted from Tommy Rich and Austin Idol. That's a real thing. So, and like I said, they were bleeding all over the place every night. And I argue this all the time. There is no difference between a steel cage match and a barbed wire match. Both of them are to sell to the public that they're going to see blood. So one, you can take, a barbed wire and stick it in a dude's head, and they don't see any use of the hands up by the head or anything like that. And they know this guy's getting hard weight. To me, that brings legitimacy to wrestling that a steel cage doesn't, or, anything like that, glass, a lot of people don't realize this. The first cut that I got in the Taipei Deathmatch in ECW was a hard way. Axl took glass and cut me with it. And I was praying to God that it was what it needed to be for Bill Alfonso to stop the match for this little trickle of blood, and not bleeding all over the damn place. So when you have things like that go on, I believe it brings legitimacy. When I took the baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire and I stuck it in Axl's leg and it stuck straight up in the air, the smartest fans in the world, the ECW fans, the smartest fans in the world, were fooled to thinking I stuck that barbed wire bat in his leg. And it was sticking straight up. So what they don't realize is he had a knee pad on underneath of that, and that's what I put the barbed wire in. That's what was holding the barbed wire bat straight up in the air.
Right.
But that's what always makes me laugh when people say, "Oh, they don't know how to work." And to do it right, you better damn sure know how to work, because if you don't, then somebody's going to get hurt.
Mm.
And and don't get me wrong, I've had a ton of hard way stitches in my arm from that damn baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire. In Fort Lauderdale, one of the matches that I would love to have in my career, that I've never been able to get the footage of, is a match from Fort Lauderdale at the War Memorial Coliseum, which was really cool for me anyway, because I was a fan of Florida Championship Wrestling. I watched wrestling in that building as a fan. So to wrestle in that building as part of a featured match was really cool. But Axl hit me in the arm with the bat, and it ripped my arm open. I mean, just open it up like a vagina. And the crowd started chanting, "You sick fucks! You sick fucks!" And it wasn't a case of you sick fucks. It was a case of, oh fuck, I can't believe that happened. But yeah, to the modern day where deathmatch wrestling is, I believe you used the word celebrated, compared to now, there had to be guys that went before you and took all the shit, and I'm one of those guys, and don't get me wrong, there is some fantastic deathmatch fans out there. I mean, absolutely fantastic. They know their shit. They know what they're talking about, things like that. But there is just some deathmatch fans out there that I really believe they want to see somebody get hurt, and hurt bad, and that's my only worry is, I think deathmatch wrestling is kind of plateaued right now as far as what you do, what you can do, and things like that. Where you have there's only so many certain amounts of weapons out there that can be used. That's why myself as a promoter, I was always trying to come up with different ways to use stuff, and and that's a difficult thing to do. But I thought that IWA and the people involved in IWA, including myself, we were constantly trying to come up with new things, to do. Like, I had to get on some asshole on the internet who put up this picture of the ring with about 6 light tubes in it and a couple other gimmicks and said, House of Horrors Deathmatch. I said, well, as the inventor of that match, that is not a House of Horrors Deathmatch, and please stop calling it that. Because it's a hard match to set up. You have to have, first of all, you have to have a shitload of tubes. You have to have them suspended, hanging. That's why it pissed me off when Vince called whatever that thing with Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton was House of Horrors. And don't get me wrong, I'm not one of them Vince McMahon bashers. I think the guy is the greatest genius ever in the history of the business, and took a big chance on fucking WrestleMania, and it paid off to no end. That's what's always funny when people talk shit about me being a gambler. I'll be like, Vince McMahon was the biggest gambler that ever existed. I've never taken $1 million gamble. I guarantee you that. So it's it's in real good stage now, but I also think it's in limbo kind of, I always like we made fun of this group because everybody thinks they can do death matches. Everybody thinks they can do death matches. And this one group, their final was a single light tube and a cardboard box. So we put that in the ring and called it the other guy's death match. So, and being honest with you, though I'm going to speak to him very soon, I don't think Lauderdale and them have ever done the job that we did on doing death matches. They never spent the money or anything like that. When my building in New Albany got taken from me, there was 2,000 light tubes inside of it. So, that's a lot of damn light tubes. And I was always trying to think of something more creative to do with that. I get credit for it, but actually it was a guy named Chris Hatler that came up with the log cabin of glass. I just said, that sounds like a really cool idea. I have no idea how we're going to build it. And his nickname was the Creator. And this dude could create some really, really, really good shit. And he did so. And people, when I tell you the first log cabin of glass was a log cabin. I mean, it had a roof on it. It was peaked. I mean, it was absolutely insane. So I just kind of worry about that now. Where are we at now? And I'm not going to be one day. I put this out this morning on my Facebook. I'm not running another deathmatch tournament ever. I don't have it in me at 53 years old, legally blind, 8 toes, and arthritic. I just don't have it in me. And if I can't do it right, I'm not going to do it like the other guys. I'm not going to do it at all. Yeah. So hopefully, somebody comes up with some good shit. I always look at movies and Hollywood and special effects type of things to come up with things. That's how I came up with the Taipei Deathmatch. I was watching that Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, and I was like, that could be done as a wrestling match. And I hit Paulie up with it. I was like, me and Axel against Public Enemy, do this match. We'll call it the Taipei Deathmatch and all this other stuff. And Teddy and Johnny were like, nope. So, I hope that somebody takes an interest in it because it's very easy. It's very easy when you don't have to announce a name, you don't have to announce a stipulation, and you've got 1,500 tickets sold.
Yeah.
It's very easy to become complacent in what you're doing. Not that I'm saying Brett or anybody else. I won't even mention the other dick's name. not other Dick, because I don't look at Brett as a dick, but the Dick his name. I don't think anybody's really putting anything into it besides what's already been done. That's what worries me now. Something cool, some concept come up that is cool that might be a ripoff of something else that was cool, and grab people's attention as something new without somebody getting hurt.
Yeah.
So that's really what I hope for deathmatch wrestling. Like, I hope that people realize that there are limits to it. I saw this video clip of Shane Mercer in an indoor building throwing this kid, lighting this kid on fire, and then throwing this kid towards for a table, and the kid missed the table.
Saw that.
Everything else, and I realize shit happens. And Shane Mercer may be the strongest human being that's ever been in the wrestling business, and that's saying something. But sometimes you just got to think. you got to think. Is this a wise idea? So.
Cool, bro. Well, thank you very much for the insight there. Very cool. Speaking about all this stuff from back in the day, I wanted to ask you about CZW Tournament of Death #2, because I spoke to Nick Mondo about the main event and the finals there between you two, and how you essentially had to carry the match because he was just not there at all. Could you share some insight on your memories of that matchup with Nick?
I think Nick is one of those guys that he truly feared nothing. But sometimes that's a bad thing. And after that bump off the roof, he was in no shape to wrestle. And I told him, I said, just listen to me. I'll get you through this, and we'll do the best we can. And when we came back from the match, everybody was applauding him and stuff. And Nick hugged me. He said, "I don't know why they're applauding me. You're the one that saved that." I was like, this is your home fed. I really don't care why they're applauding you, but you should be applauded for just going out there after that bump. So, I never liked John Zandig from day one. So I never trusted John Zandig from day one. But when I found out the finals were going to be me and Nick, I was actually really excited about it. And then when I saw that bump he took, I was like, I went to Burns. I was like, "Do you realize I got heat galore here, and you're going to have me get beat by a guy that just got dumped off of a building?" And he was like, "That's what they want." And I was like, "Okay, well, if that's what they want, but they're killing us right now." And that was the only reason why I agreed to work for CCW, was that I didn't have to even talk to Zandig, because Mike Burns was the booker at the time, Smart Mark Video. And, I worked Nick, I think 3 times total. I worked him the Tournament of Death finals. I worked him in King of the Death, and I had a match with him in Milwaukee for the Hardcore Cup, I think. Don't hold me to that, but I'm pretty sure 20 concussions and a lot of weed. I forget shit. But I always enjoyed working Nick. Like I said, unfortunately for him, there was nothing he ever said no to.
Yeah, so now that you mention it, it is kind of funny. Like, you still lost to the guy that took a bump off a building. It's great stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to throw
and
this question.
mind you, me and Zandig hadn't wrestled yet.
Right.
we hadn't wrestled yet. So in my mind, it made no sense for me to lose this. Could you imagine how much heat would have been on me if I would have won Tournament of Death?
Mm.
You know, like Zandig would have had to come out there and hand me that trophy.
Yeah.
Like, but dude didn't understand making money, you know, at all. He didn't understand how to get heat, you know, like when he looked out in the crowd one of the shows, I believe it was the Extreme 8 show, and I had sold out of IWA t-shirts, and and the fans that came to IWA from the East Coast were wearing their IWA t-shirts. I don't think Zandig was very happy that, you know, he wasn't the guy then.
Right.
But I mean, uh, dude makes Man Pondo look like Dean Malenko in the ring. Like, I mean, he has no abilities whatsoever. His only ability is to take punishment. You know, that's his ability. But you know, we did a like a lightsaber spot with chairs, you know, and we smacked the chairs back and forth, and you know, I feed to him, you know, the big miss spot and have the chair out for him to knock the chair out of my hands, and then to be able to hit me with the chair. And this dumbass misses the chair totally, hits me in the wrist and breaks my wrist.
Fuck.
Right. So I never really had confidence in John in anything, you know, which is funny because you know, he likes to say that I was scared on top of that cage thing that we did, that awful cage match in Delaware. But that was when I had my first brown recluse spider bite, and the doctor at the show advised me not to work. I had 103-degree fever, and I didn't trust him. And I told him that. I did. I said, John, I'm scared to death. Please take care of me on this bump. There's nothing wrong with saying that to your opponent.
Mm.
You know, because you know that was the way I supported my family. That was the way, you know, I made a living. You know, I wasn't just wrestling on IWA shows. You know, I was wrestling in Milwaukee and California and Florida and Alabama. You know, so I mean, like, you know, dude was just. I don't know how I got on John Zandig, but it just one of the
right.
one of the most horrible wrestlers I've ever been in the ring with.
Fair enough, bro. I wanted to. I'm going to have to fast forward it to this question here because I'll keep looking at the time, worried about the time, and I know that this is an important question on this interview. IWA Mid-South has not had a show since May of 2022. I know you've mentioned a few things on your Facebook, but for those who don't know, is it gone for good? Is it coming back? What's happening with IWA Mid-South?
No, man, I'm going to run April 20th of 2024 in Indianapolis. I got some money backers. This will be the first time I ever run a show and don't care if one person shows up. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I'm going to book who I want to book. If cancel culture doesn't like it, fuck them. I don't really care, you know. And we're going to have a hell of a show. It's like this, like when you do something for 26 years, and then the last show that you run after over 1,000 shows, you have a catastrophe of things going on. I don't want that to be my end all be all of IWA. I don't want it to be remembered for a show where, you know, not a lot of people got paid. You know, I want to be remembered for what it truly is, and you know, a place where you can see some high flying, hard hitting. You might see some Memphis style wrestling. You're gonna see some blood. You know, you might see a hot chick or two. You know, it offers something for every wrestling fan. I always thought that's what made ECW so cool, was that, on the same show that you could see me and Axel beat the shit out of each other with a baseball bat wrapped in ball wire, you could see Dean Malenko versus Eddie Guerrero, that's always been the IWA formula. I got asked a great question by Mike Johnson after when we were promoting one of the King of the Death matches, and he said, "Do you still feel the way you felt about Paul Lee when you left the company as you do today? Now that you're a promoter of your own?" And my answer to that was, "Good question." So, and the answer to that, truthfully, is no. I do not feel the same about him, because I know the struggles. I know robbing Peter to pay Paul. I know, I've never used somebody's supposedly family member died to buy an airplane ticket. I haven't done that one. But I always looked up to Paulie from the standpoint of people always said Paulie's a genius. No, Paulie's not a genius. He's smart enough to surround himself with pretty smart people, and then put his own twist on it once he gets their ideas. And Paul, I honestly and truthfully have to say, I don't feel there's ever a me without him. Just like there's never a me without Axel. People have asked me all the time, why'd you put up with all of Axel's bullshit? Because without him, there is no me. You lead the dance with who brought you. And that's an important thing to me as far as loyalty is concerned. And I know you sent me these questions beforehand, and you said if I didn't want to talk about this, I don't need to, but that's something people don't understand. I've never ducked anything, like if you ask me a question, I'll answer it, and then and I know I say a lot, but there has to be there has to be some semblance of loyalty in wrestling, and I feel that as the newer age people come in, it's not so much about getting in somewhere, having a promoter put faith in you to wrestle the top guys that are out there. And that's what I always did with Punk. Punk wrestled every top guy I ever brought in: Jerry Lynn, Sabu, Tracy Smothers. I mean, of course, Eddie and Ray. He wrestled Eddie Guerrero 3 times for me, because from the very beginning, I felt that he was a main event guy, and to be a main event guy on the top of the mountain, you have to wrestle people that have been to the top of the mountain. And so I appreciated Paul Lee aligning me with Terry Funk, or to put me in the ring so many times with the late great Ted Petty. Just so many opportunities to learn. Even though it wasn't a really great match, I thought it was really cool that I got to work Pat Tanaka and Paul Diamond, Bad Company, former AWA Tag Team Champions. The opportunities were endless at ECW. And I don't think nowadays people breaking into business look at it as the same as I do. When I broke into business, 10 guys surrounded the ring and beat the living shit out of me. Little known fact here: one of the guys that beat me up as my initiation into the wrestling business was Gilbert. Who I'm still friends with to this day. But like they look at it as because, oh, I gave some wrestling school $2,500 or $3,000 or $5,000. I don't have to pay dues. I don't have to put up rings. I don't have to promote shows. I don't have to make this promoter's dates my priority. And then they want to get on the internet and tell everybody, how much they got paid or how much they didn't get paid. It's just a lot. Man, if I would have went out in the day and went to the bar afterwards and would have been like, you know what my first ECW payday was? $30. I wouldn't have had many more paydays because Paulie would have fired me. We weren't going around. I don't know how much you know about American wrestling, but back in the day, the rivalry was Dennis Carluzza and the NWA and ECW.
Yeah.
If I would have told Paulie, hey, I'm going to take this Dennis Carluzza booking.
Yeah.
Back in the day when we were in global, we had to get our bookings cleared through the global office. Hey, can I wrestle for so-and-so? Can I wrestle for so-and-so? Can I wrestle for so, and their thing was, as long as you gave our bookings priority, go make your money, but now guys want to wrestle for 14 companies in the same building in a month, and girls, it's a different world out there now, man. I mean, I broke in 1990 and, I know may make me a dinosaur, but I sat in those dressing rooms and I listened to Killer Tim Brooks and Black Bart and Skandar Akbar and Mike Davis of the Rock and Roll RPMs, and then in ECW, the ability to sit there and listen to Sabu and Shane and Terry Funk call the night the line was crossed. The be told, hey, listen, listen and listen. If we change anything over this, make sure we don't. So I mean, I really had to pay attention to this stuff. You know how scary it is to be a 23-year-old kid and have to tell Terry Funk, no, that ain't what you said. What you said there. It's a different world, and that's another reason why I feel wrestling needs me, especially independent wrestling needs me, because I'm not. I don't sugarcoat it. If you have a shit match, Abyss still hasn't talked to me to this day because he was like, Ian, what'd you think of that? I was like, it was the shits. It was the drizzling shits. Here's your money. Good luck. And I liked him a lot, but he went out there and fucking half-assed it and mailed it in. And I was like, do you realize what my fans have seen? And this is supposed to be this what did they call that match in TNA?
Monsters Ball.
Monsters Ball. Yeah, this is supposed to be a Monsters Ball match. And I was like, you know what my fans have seen, and that's your Monsters Ball, And I even called him up to wish him congratulations on getting his job in the WWE, and because I mean, dude worked for me when he was Prince Justice. He was dressed in all baby blue. He used to look like the biggest fucking Smurf that ever existed. But I liked him. But I wasn't happy with this match, and I'm not going to tell you, Chris, I really like that when I don't. I'm just that guy. I don't think I've ever seen Akbar or Paul Heyman or any of the guys like that. Especially Lawler, ever kiss anybody's ass. So, I mean, that's the way I was brought up, the way I was raised in the business. And, if you do something fucking stupid, I'm going to tell you did something stupid. If you don't like my advice, go somewhere else. It's that simple.
Cool, bro. Okay, so that's great for everyone to know, all the IWA fans out there, that April next year, we'll be back in business. So that's cool. But I wanted to ask, do you want to give a rebuttal to the Jake Crist situation? I read a little bit about this when it happened.
Did you see my cat go flying by?
I've seen your cat a few times, actually. Yeah, did you want to respond to whatever it was that he did? He set some title belts on fire or something like that.
Yeah, man. Let me just say this. When cancel culture first came and Dave Crist, Jake's brother, got slammed in that along with his girlfriend Samantha and stuff, TNA took that out on Jake. They took his job from him. He wasn't getting bookings because of Dave. I was the only one that had faith in him, and not only did I have faith in him, I was paying him. I was putting him on shows when he wasn't even booked, paying him out of my concession stand money, paying him directly out of my pocket. And let me state this: there was times or two that I did owe Jake money and paid him exactly when he was told. Okay, and to everybody that was on that Chicago show, come that Monday morning afterwards, I said to my girl Misty, I said, everybody paid? She said, everybody's paid, which that wasn't true. But she wasn't into letting me know how bad our money situation was. And people talk about the dark side of wrestling. This is part of the dark side of wrestling, because the reason why she didn't want to let me know that we were out of money was because every couple of days I was trying to figure out a way to kill myself. And she thought that this would be the thing that sets me over the edge. She tried keeping it from me. Never, ever in that time period from whenever he went to burning the belts. Because, he was my junior champion and my world champion. And, not once did he ever speak to me, because to keep this going, my girl was taking my phone. And I mean, as you can see, I'm legally blind. This is how I normally do things. Big ass thick magnifying glass. She handled all of our finances and things. So I never knew anything different. But not once did Jake take the time to call me, physically hear my voice, and say, why, since you have always paid me when you said you're going to pay me, why aren't you paying me this time? Not one time. And let me tell you this. If it was about money, he could have easily sold those belts for quite some more than he was owed. This was about Jake Crist wanting to be the knight in shining armor of the indie world that hates me.
Right.
John Wayne Murdoch was not owed a fucking dime from that show. Not a fucking dime. And on top of that, he was paid $50 extra for having to wait for his money until that Monday. And there's things like, I would book shows and seminars for Jake to make money. Things I lost money on. Jake locked his keys in his car one time after a show. I gave him half of the money for the Papa Lock. That particular Chicago show, he came up to me and said, "Hey man, I'm flying out of Chicago early in the morning. Can you get me a hotel tonight?" Okay, man. Got him. And Kong asked me the same thing. I said, "You and Kong can room. I can get you a hotel." you know, adding expenses on top of expenses of already losing money. But not one time did this guy ever speak to me, hear my voice, and hear me say, I'm not going to pay you. Because if he would have called me and he would have gotten my voice, he would have got, Jake, what the fuck are you talking about? Everybody's been paid. And then literally one day, I guess when Jake put that on the internet and stuff, I hadn't seen it yet. I woke up to a message from my girl admitting everything that was going on, that we were broke. We had like, I don't know, $3 to our name or something like that. And, that the guys are pulling off a King of the Death and all this other stuff. If guys would have gave me a chance to handle it once I knew, with the connections I have, with the people that believe in me, I could have easily took care of things. But instead, it was immediately fuck Ian, who's helped us so much. John Wayne Murdoch would still be Damian fucking Payne if it wasn't for me. I made that motherfucker like he came out of my balls and was personal sparring. So this whole thing, like made no sense to me. And then I'm calling people and I'm blocked. Like, I'm like trying to call people to explain to them, I don't know what the fuck's going on. I just got this, pardon the pun, Dear John letter, telling me how broke I am. And, I never knew any of it. And then, July 12th came and sheriff's knocking on my door, telling me to get out of my townhouse, that I'm evicted. So yeah, it took me a second to get back on my feet. To get beat down that bad takes you a second to get back on your feet. But I managed. And we owed like $17,000 to the fans. We've paid back like 13,000 plus of it. I could have claimed bankruptcy and nobody would have got shit. But that wasn't what I wanted. There's people put their faith in me, to believe that my show was going to be worth this much money, and trust me, boy, it would have been that show would have been the greatest King of the Death matches that ever happened. People would have been talking about it forever. But I still haven't talked to Jake. Ain't seen Jake. But this is a guy that every week would kiss me and hug me and tell me how much he loves me and all this other stuff. But $250 meant the difference to him.
Right. It's funny that you did mention about, he could have sold the belts and made back more money than he was owed. But so I always found that to be strange that he actually burned the titles. I thought it was a joke at first, but I guess.
Well, I mean, I had a ton of people hit me up. This is the greatest angle ever. What the fuck are you talking about? I just got them belts made.
Fuck me. Well, thank you very much for sharing that, Ian. I know that's quite a lot to let everyone know about there. And I think a lot of the time people very quick to pounce on something as soon as they see something or read something, or they immediately take it as complete fact and they don't even look to see what the other side of the story is. So I appreciate you sharing that side of the story. And for anyone out there saying, oh, he's full of shit.
That's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes. I mean, I've seen on your Facebook, you are posting saying, if we owe you money from this show, please send an email to this address. So you're actually putting it out there to the public. If there's any fans out there that are owed money,
yeah, if there's any fans out there owed money, my email address is very easy to remember. It's ianrodteniwa@gmail.com. All I ask is you just present some kind of proof of that you paid me. Because when I got evicted from my townhouse, all that kind of stuff got left behind. So like it's very difficult to do this. I mean, and of course, I'm the scumbag, but I can't tell you how many people try to get money that aren't owed.
Oh, fucking hell.
But I'm the scumbag, man. I'm the scumbag. But it's all good. People can think of me what they want to think of me. But know this: if you ever want to know something about Ian Rotten, just ask me. Just ask me.
Cool, bro. Well, thanks so much. We're coming really close to the end of the interview here, Ian. I really appreciate your time so much. I wanted to
I've been long-winded. If you got something you want to get to, I'm more than happy to give you, a couple extra minutes.
Okay, that's cool. Because I did want to ask a couple of things about the Bad Breed and ECW. I feel like the Bad Breed never gets celebrated enough compared to Public Enemy, Dudley's Illuminators, the Pitbulls, etc. Bad Breed were a big part of, especially that early days of ECW. How would you summarize the Bad Breed's run in ECW?
Public Enemy's jobbers. The only time me and Axel ever went over on Public Enemy, it was a joke. It was an accident.
Oh, really?
Teddy, Johnny, and Paulie were riding to the show, and Teddy said to Paulie, "What do you want tonight?" He goes, "Bad Breed over clean," and he never says anything else about it. And so it was a match where the winners would face Cactus and Mikey Whipwreck, for the tag titles. And so the ring, we go over, and the ring announcer announces the winners and number one contenders, Axl and Ian Rotten, the Bad Breed, and you hear Paulie from behind the curtain go, "What?" So we had to have another match where we lost the number one contendership.
Oh, shit.
And the only other time I went over on Public Enemy, Stevie Richards was my partner with Francine before she was Francine at a children's charity show that Todd was a big part of. And they put all the baby faces, whoever was babyface went over, because it was just that kind of show. And but as far as Axl versus Ian Rotten is concerned, I know for a fact that after they announced me and Axl in a barbed wire match, the barbed wire bat match, when they didn't have a whole lot to put out that night for that night, because the big surprise was it was the return of the Funker, and it would be Terry Funk. So they didn't want to give too much away. And when they announced that, we were going to do this baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire match, the fans even knew we were going to go balls to the wall, and the ticket sales started picking up. So I really, I read one of your questions. I almost called it a commercial. One of your questions was, what's my most memorable moment in my career? And it's not. Yeah, I love that 30 years after the Taipei death is done, people still remember it and people still celebrate it. I absolutely love it. But it's the hardcore homecoming Taipei Death 2.
Yeah.
That really is what I am proud of. Because if you watch that DVD and you listen, when the ring announcer goes, "It's now time for Taipei Death 2," that fucking crowd goes apeshit. And when we did what we did, I had Axl hard-way my arm, hard-way my head, obviously staple gun to the tongue, lot of stuff that was just new stuff in 2005 as far as what was being done as deathmatch stuff is concerned. But when I get to the back, Roger, the guy that ran the ECW arena, then goes, "Man, that was incredible. you guys even had Terry Funk and the Dudleys and Sabu watching the screen, and that to me is prideful, because 10 years, 15 years, no, 10 years after we do that match, to get that reaction out of the crowd, and for them to realize, okay, we're going to see some shit go down now, is why I've always lived by the moniker 300, 3,000, 30,000. It don't matter. You work the same way. You work as hard as you possibly can and entertain those people that are in that crowd, And of course, nowadays you have streaming services and all that stuff for people to watch wrestling on. So you're outside of that crowd a lot more than you were back then. But to have that reaction out of those people is probably the proudest shining moment that I have. On top of the fact that I would eventually find out that Axl was strung out on heroin that night. And when we came back through the curtain and stuff, he grabbed me and hugged me and he said, "Thanks for carrying me." And I never ever thought I would hear those words out of Axl Rotten's mouth.
Yeah.
When people call each other brother in this business, he truly was my brother. We had our moments in and out. We did each other dirty sometimes. He fucked my girlfriend. I got a blowjob from his wife. I mean, it's things that we were always brought back together. No matter what the argument was, things would always be brought back together. And right before he died, when he moved in, he came and moved in with me, and he said, "I can't believe after all the shit I've done to you, you're allowing me to live in your house." And I looked at him. I said, "You're my brother. You're my brother. And without you, there is no me." And when he left my house, I knew I was never ever going to see him again.
No.
Me and Axl are both t-shirt whores. We love t-shirts, concert t-shirts, the boys t-shirts. We would go up to guys we didn't even like and go, "Hey man, can I get one of your t-shirts?" But he left all that stuff at my house. He left his winter jacket going back to Baltimore in January. And he said, when he said, "I'm going back to Baltimore," I said, "For what? To be a junkie?" And he was like, "That's the one thing I'm good at. I can't wrestle no more. That's the one thing I'm good at." And I had wrote him a note when he put a little text when he put something on Twitter, and Misty said something to me about it, that that he put something on Twitter, and I sent him a message and I said, "Well, at least I know you're alive for now." And the next day he was dead. I'm extremely grateful for the things that he did for me in this business. He really couldn't handle not being able to wrestle.
Mm.
He said to me one time, he said, "Man, how do you not wrestle?" Because at that time I wasn't wrestling a whole lot. He said, "Man, how do you do that?" And I said, "Bro, there's other things to do in wrestling besides wrestle." And he's like, "Yeah, but when you do those other things, they don't chant your name." True, but that's why I've always thought it was cool that IWA fans, even when I wasn't wrestling, would chant my name as a promoter. So that's why I've always really prided myself on giving you guys the the best I can, and I'm telling you, come April 20th, we're gonna have some fucking fun. It is 420. Don't forget that.
Perfect date. Thank you for sharing all that, Ian. I really appreciate it. And we do have a final segment here of the show, which is something about your favorite things. It's supposed to be quick-fire questions for quick-fire answers. Let's see how quick we can get through this. First one. Who's your favorite pro wrestler of all time?
Dusty Rhodes.
Excellent. Favorite opponent from over the years?
Can I put it this way? My favorite deathmatch opponent is Axel, and my favorite person to ever been in the ring with, as far as wrestling is concerned, is Chris Hero.
Excellent choices. Do you have one match that you would look back and say, that's my favorite? That's, if someone asked you, show me what it is that you do, what makes Ian Rotten, what would be that match?
I mean, it's got to be the Taipei Death. I mean, it has to, the fact that people still celebrate an anniversary of it, and talk about it, is for a fat kid from Baltimore. That's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I agree. That's great. Getting away from wrestling now. Do you have a favorite book? I know that you said you.
I do have a favorite book. It is called The Call of the Wild by Jack London.
Okay, very cool. Do you have a favorite TV show?
If they would ever start running episodes of it again, it would be Yellowstone.
Oh gosh, I love it. Yeah, very good answer. Favorite film?
And I'm a man. I'm not proud to admit this, but me and Axel used to go to the movie theaters and go from movie theater to movie theater to movie theater to movie theater by paying for one movie, and that's how we would spend our day. I would probably say, I'm going to have to go with two on this: Goodfellas and Tombstone.
Awesome. Very good choices. You know what? Goodfellas is pretty popular for that question on my podcast. I have to admit. Favorite musical
and
artist?
Blow. I love Blow.
Oh, I love Blow too.
Blow. I've never done it, but I mean, if you ask anybody on the internet, yes, I have. I've done tons of hard drugs, but no, I love things that are based on real life occurrences.
Me too. It's like my favorite thing. Like knowing that what you're watching actually happened is, it really invests me. Do you have a favorite band?
Kiss.
Awesome.
Hold on a second. This is a two-part question. Kiss is my favorite band to see live. My favorite musical band is Van Halen, not Van Hagar.
Yeah.
And I'm 53 years old, so yeah, I like them old guys.
Awesome,
I like the entertainment value of David Lee Roth. Sammy Hagar made the band a better band, but I really like the entertainment value of Van Halen. But I've seen Kiss 20 times in concert.
Awesome, bro. I've seen them twice. And I know it's almost the end of the road for them. I think you and I got the same taste in music, bro. Getting away from the arts now, do you have favorite food?
Man, probably any seafood, pretty much. I mean, I grew up in Baltimore in the Chesapeake Bay. My mom's not alive anymore to make me meatloaf. So I'd have to say my mom's meatloaf or pretty much any seafood.
Cool. Do you have a favorite place to eat on the road?
Depends what part of the road I'm on. Like when I'm back home in Baltimore, I always have to go to Weiss's Deli. It's a place that me and Axel would eat lunch at 3 or 4 times a week. Best corned beef sandwich, Reuben, that there is on the planet. So yeah, definitely Weiss's.
Cool. Only 3 to go now. Do you have a favorite alcoholic beverage? And if you don't drink, just a favorite beverage in general.
Well, my favorite beverage is Coke Zero, but my favorite alcohol beverage, straight up, is Jack. Kind of mixed drink is a Long Island iced tea.
Very nice. Second last one here, Ian. Could be considered the naughtiest question of these favorite questions, but it could have a very meaningful answer. It's favorite female body part or attribute. You know, you see a good-looking lady. What will Ian Rotten look at?
Oh man, I'm a tits guy. I'm a tits guy.
Excellent, bro. Excellent. Last one here. Last one. Favorite curse word.
Fuck.
Yeah. That's the number one answer on this show for that, no doubt.
I tell people all the time, they'll say, don't curse at me, especially like I'll be talking to somebody. And I'll be like, don't curse at me. I'm like, nah, I'm not cursing at you. That's just the way I talk. So,
yeah, that's what it's like here in Australia. That's for sure. But we've come to the end of the interview here, Ian. I want to thank you so much for your time. I've had so much fun. We've laughed quite a lot. We got quite sad at some stages as well. This was really a fun time for me. And I guess what I like to do this at the end of the interview and really kind of pump my guest up. You know, you ran that wrestling company for so many years. And I was just looking at the list of alumni. And there's so many pages of alumni, all these people, AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan, Cesaro, Dusty Rhodes. Like I saw all these days.
People don't realize this. People don't realize this. I helped train Cesaro.
Right.
See? You know, I actually went to Switzerland to help train him.
Right.
He had already been in America and stuff, and then after he saw the way I taught, he asked the promoters of the Swiss Wrestling Alliance over there to bring me over. Right. So I spent a week in there and helped training him, and then I did a week camp with Aleister Black also. Oh, cool. You know, I'm proud to say, you know, as far as workers are concerned, that I've had a really good hand in Chris Hero, Cesaro, and Aleister Black. Pretty good three guys that can throw it down.
Absolutely. And, you know, that was kind of the point I was alluding to, was like so many people went through IWA Mid-South at some stage of their career. And, you know, geez, it took all the way up until, 2022 for there to be some massive problem. Surely you've done something right for it to last so long. Right. And for all of these guys, so many top names in the business now, a lot of them got their start in IWA Mid-South. So you should be so proud of what you've been able to accomplish with that company, and so proud of what you're about to accomplish when you bring it back and show us really what independent wrestling is all about in 2024.
Well, man, I'll tell you something funny here. We used to have this couch back in the day, and we just threw this couch out. And I said to my ex-wife, I said, we are dumbasses. If we would have listed the guys that slept on that couch, we could have made a fortune on eBay. You know? So, you know, it's definitely you know, a who's who of the guys that have been in wrestling. Plus, I mean, people don't realize I had Bobby Heenan, I had Abdullah the Butcher, I had Dusty Rhodes, you know, I had Terry Funk, not once but twice. You know, I got to live my dreams in the wrestling business, and you know, people always said to me, when you brought Dusty in, why didn't you wrestle him? I don't want to beat up my hero.
You teamed with him.
Right, I teamed with him. You know, I mean, what other better way is there? You know, and man, when we were going over that match, and Dusty says to me, "Hey, kid, let me tell you something. Why don't we do this?" And I'm listening with all anticipation, because I have him getting the pin, and he's like, "I'll throw you the elbow pad, and you hit the big bionic elbow, and you get the 1, 2, 3." And it took me probably a good minute to get out the words, "Okay." I was choked up and so stunned about it, you know, because, you know, you hear stories, you know, Dusty's an egomaniac and this and that and all this other stuff. And man, when I brought him in, they say don't meet your heroes. that's not necessarily true. I've met quite a few of my heroes, from whether it's wrestling or baseball. I'm a huge baseball fan, huge Cal Ripken fan. One of the nicest dudes I've ever met in my life. When he saw the tattoo on my arm, it says Ripken. He asked me if I was a stalker, if I would ever be on his lawn or anything. I was like, no, no, no. And then shortly after that, his mother got kidnapped, and I was like, oh no. So, but yeah, man, I've had some rough times, and I'm being honest with you. He's been dead since 2016, and I still have some rough days where I get an idea in my head or a thought, and I'd love to be able to pick up the phone and call Axel, but that's not a thing that happened, you know. And now we don't have guys like Candido, and we don't have guys like Tracy, we don't have guys like Ted Petty, you know. I kind of feel like it's my duty, you know, to do for as long as I can the right thing by the business. And I believe the right thing by the business is for my last show not to be looked upon as a failure. And that's how I want to do things. There was a time period where I said I would never, ever come back to wrestling. I don't want nothing to do with it. I absolutely hate it. And be honest with you, I'm still bitter. You know, I just felt like I should have been given a better chance to do right by things before everything went to shit. And I thought I earned that. I thought I deserved that, you know, especially for guys like Murdoch and Jake, who I did a lot for. A lot. You know, there was one period of time that Jake Crist told me that his wife was going to make him get a regular job because he wasn't making enough money wrestling, and I bumped his pay. Like, you know, it's you miss the camaraderie. You miss even though there's a bunch of fake motherfuckers in this business. You miss seeing the same people every week, and then them saying, "I love you. I'll see you next week." You know, you miss that. You know, that's the fun part of the business. Definitely isn't losing money or making money. It's doing something out there to entertain people as a group, as a team. And I've always said that's what makes IWA is that we go out there and we do this as a team from the first match to the last. And you know, I'm hoping I get a chance with a whole new generation to show them, you know, why I made it over 1,000 shows, and you know, and if you look at things in a time period that IWA ran, I averaged 54 shows a year. You know, 54 shows a year. That's a lot of putting people to work. No matter how much people want to admit that, or say I didn't pay people or all this other shit. You know, they certainly did keep coming back if they weren't getting paid. You know, well, at least up until the end. But the fun part of the wrestling business is the camaraderie. It's what you miss. You know, it's believing when you call somebody brother that's true.
Yeah.
And it's not just a word in a promo.
Well said, Ian. Well said. Well, thank you again for sharing all that, and thank you again for your time here on the Insider's Edge podcast. Really appreciate it, my friend.
Absolutely, man. Hey, and I'm sorry I had to cancel out on you yesterday. I ate some salsa that I don't know what it ate and clean the vegetables or whatever, but man, it messed me up yesterday. Like, I wouldn't have been able to sit here for an hour or whatever without going, I'll be back.
That's all good, bro.
I apologize. I had to push it off for a day, but I'm glad we got it done. And I would like to tell you and your listeners something. Sure. This guy literally did pursue me for a couple years. And after the debacle of that one podcast I did, I told him I don't do podcasts with anybody that I don't trust.
Yeah.
I'm glad to say that now I know and can trust you. I appreciate you staying true to form with it, and not trying to be an asshole, and see what you can get out of me, instead of just being a good guy, asking good questions, and things of that nature. I appreciate it, and your fans should too. And anybody that's ever said anything to me from here on out about doing a podcast for you, I'll be more than happy to put you over like Hogan in the 80s.
Well, thank you very much, Ian. I very much appreciate that. And once again, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely, my man.
Thanks,
Take care.
Bro. And thank all of you
Bye-bye.
out there for joining us here on the Insider's Edge podcast. Myself, Ian Rotten. See you down the road. Thank you.
Network, that's the way we play. Good God Almighty. Network, that's the way we play. Get puppies. Network, that's the way we play. Get.
The following announcement has been paid for by the WZWA Network.